why are people eager to invest in Dubai real estate?
We have the highest rental yields as well as capital appreciation on the planet. And what makes it even more attractive is
Anand Menon is Dubai's most influential sales trainer and coach. He's recognized among the Super 100 Indian influencers in Dubai and is the winner of the prestigious GCC Leader Brand Award.
we have zero tax on capital gains, zero tax on rental yields, and zero tax on inheritance. Now, who would not want to be in that city?
There are people who fear that the Dubai real estate has entered a bubble territory and that it may pop at any time. What do you think about that?
Where exactly did you get that from?
You can research the UBS Global Real Estate Bubble Index.
They publish every year a bubble report.
And in terms of risk, from number 1 down to number 25,
We are on the bottom.
Money that's coming into Dubai over the last couple of years is from Ukraine and Russia. Could that be hot money that could come in for a while but then leave the market en masse?
Let's look at what happened. Our last 3 years,
A couple of reasons why the Dubai real estate market may suffer. What would you say those are?
one of the things which I feel could be a challenge in Dubai is
Okay, so Dr. Menon, there's a lot of buzz about real estate opportunities in Dubai. We're all hearing about it in the mainstream media, on social media, and everywhere else. Could you tell us a little bit about what's driving this, call it hype, or this news cycle, and why are people eager to invest in Dubai real estate?
okay, I think one of the strongest reasons behind the hype in the Dubai real estate is our economic agendas for the next 17 years. You see, real estate cannot be separated from the economic agendas because another word for real estate is infrastructure. We have the Dubai Economic Agenda 2033 and we have the Dubai Urban Master Plan 2040. Now, the 2033 agenda is positioned to keep us at the number 3 ranking in the world as a city for lifestyle, for business, for entertainment, hospitality, etc. By 2040, our target is to become the number 1 city in the world. And that's the reason why the Dubai market has done so well, because you're aiming to be the number 1 city in the world. Now, who would not want to be in that city? And as a result of that, we are seeing this massive amount of investments in infrastructure, highway systems, as well as residential, commercial, and hospitality options. That's why the hype is in Dubai. Today, in terms of performance on the real estate investment, we are the number 1 city in the world.
Okay, great. So could we talk a little bit more about what you mean by number 1 in terms of performance, and we'll take it from there?
Okay, good. When you talk of performance in real estate, we're talking about the capital appreciations, the rental yields, the kind of returns people are making on their investments. And today in the Dubai market, we have the highest rental yields as well as capital appreciation on the planet. And what makes it even more attractive is we have zero tax on capital gains, zero tax on rental yields or incomes, and zero tax on inheritance, etc. So that makes your returns even more attractive.
Yeah, so that's amazing. I mean, people, especially from India, when they hear zero capital gain, zero tax on rental income, that's a big deal. Let's talk about what's, as you said, what's driving the economic agenda, some numbers about that. And after that, also touch upon the leadership, because that becomes important.
Fine, perfect. So let's start with, I would say first, let's start with the leadership. And the reason for that is the economic agenda is driven by the vision of the leadership, right? Now, Sheikh Mohammed's dream has always been to be the number 1 city in the world. He wants his people to have the best quality life, but not 20 years in the future. He wants it now. When the vision was initially shared with the world, people laughed at us, actually. I mean, they did not take us seriously. Most of the leading cities in the world did not take Dubai seriously. Big mistake. Today, no one's laughing anymore. But we've gone so far ahead of most of them, there's no way they can catch up. Let me just give you one example. Last year in August, the Economist survey, which was looking at the top 10 influential cities in the world, it's a survey called the GPCI, the Global Power City Index. Dubai was number 3 on the planet. We were ahead of London, New York, Sydney, Paris, Tokyo, Johannesburg, anywhere else that you can look at. We're adding 400 new cities to our trade map in the next 10 years. Now, that is an average of 40 cities a year. 4 cities every single month that's coming in. 1 city every week. How is it possible that money will not come in, business will not come in, infrastructure will not be developed, people will not come here? Our population in Dubai alone is at 2.65 million now. but it will go to it will go to 6 million in 2033 and 7.8 million in 2040. That means we have a 70% increase in population in just the next 10 years. For 250,000 new residents coming every year in Dubai, we need homes. There is a massive demand, not just because the population is coming in, because the quality of life, our strategies, economic agendas are among the best in the world. And that's the reason why today everyone's putting their money in real estate, because they're making an absolute killing.
Great. So those numbers sound really good. But in the financial world, is in any financial market, what goes up sometime does come down, although it may have a long-term upward trajectory. So there are people who fear that the Dubai real estate has entered a bubble territory and that it may pop at any point in time. What do you think about that?
Okay. We hear this all the time. Firstly, I've been hearing about the bubble from 2006. It's a very strong bubble. It's from 2006. I'm hearing about it. We can even talk about the recession of 2008 later. Happy to answer that. But my first thing, whenever someone tells me this is the bubble, my first question to people is, well, I'm glad you brought that up. Where exactly did you get that from? And there is no answer to this. There is no answer to this. I've been in real estate from 2006. People are going to tell you Dubai is a bubble, like as if they have the authority on such events. But when you ask them, where exactly did you get it from? They go very vague in the answers. Everybody's talking about it. No, that was not the question. The question was, where exactly did you get this from? Is there any official notification, publication, global report that has suggested Dubai is going to be collapsing as a bubble? There's not one. In fact, you can research the UBS Global Real Estate Bubble Index. UBS is the Bank of Switzerland. It's the number one private wealth management bank in the world. They handle 4.1 trillion US dollars of assets every year. They actually publish every year a bubble report on 25 of the top cities for real estate investment. I'll repeat it for those who want to check it out. It's the UBS Global Real Estate Bubble Index report, global report. In that report, in the top 25 cities for real estate performance, there are 2 cities at risk, Tokyo and Zurich. There are 14 cities that are overvalued. There are 9 cities which are fair value. And in terms of risk, from number 1 risk down to number 25, we are third from the bottom. This is a global report every year. So when people tell you that it's a bubble, you need to tell me firstly where exactly you got it from and what exactly are you pinning it on. Let me expand that a little bit more. I want to expand that a little bit more because it is really something that people have as a concern and we understand. Now, the reason why they do this is you look at the industry in isolation. You're looking at 47 months of consistent increase, which makes people think that is the definition of a bubble. Having a sustained high growth rate over the last 4 years, that's crazy. But a bubble is not that by definition. The UBS report will actually describe what's a bubble happens when any industry is on an upward trajectory, but the economy is largely flatlined or showing marginal growth. So therefore, what is happening is one industry is pulling away from a strong economic foundation. There is nothing to support, so it collapses.
Yes.
But that is not the case in Dubai. We are doubling our economy in the next 10 years. We have one of the highest GDPs this year in the world. If you look at the world GDP rates, I'll give that to you maybe in another question. Now, we are doubling our economy. Our population is increasing by 70%. We are going to be opening 3 logistics corridors. Southeast Asia, we know what Asia is doing today. BRICS, that's therefore Latin America and Africa. We're adding 400 cities into our trade map. We are doubling foreign direct investments into this. So we have all these graphs going upwards, everything, and sitting on top of all of that is the real estate infrastructure graph with so much of a solid foundation under that. It cannot collapse because it has got all of this below it. Let's look at millennial migration. That's a good statistic. I know this year, this by the way, this data is from Henley and Partner, World Migration Reports. Henley and Partner handle global migrations. China is losing 15,200 millionaires today. India is losing 4,300 millionaires. The UK is losing 9,500. Between the three of these countries itself, 29,000 plus millionaires are leaving for good. Khalas, they're gone. Highest number of migrations this year is to Dubai, 6,700 millionaires. Number two is the US, 3,800 millionaires. Number three is Singapore at 3,500. Number four is Canada at 3,200. And number five is Australia at 2,500. For every one millionaire choosing the US, Canada, Singapore, or Australia, two are choosing Dubai. Now, understand who these people are. They can walk into any city in the world just by investing in real estate. They'll get residencies. So I can choose the whole world, but I'm choosing Dubai.
Understood. One hand, that's really encouraging. As you said, the context to understand bubbles is that you need to look at valuations. So whether there is some fundamental growth or not in the economy and also in particular sectors. And you said that's looking good. Speaking about migration, we've also heard, and I forgot where exactly I read this, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but a sizable portion of the money that's coming into Dubai over the last couple of years is from Ukraine and Russia. A, am I wrong in saying that? And B, if that is the case, could that be hot money that could come in for a while, but then leave the market en masse, in a few years?
Okay, great question.
Let's look at what happened, okay? And let's look at our last 3 years in Dubai were world record years. We had the highest volume of transactions in our last 3 years. This year is going to break last year as well. So this will be the fourth record year.
Mm-hmm.
If you look in 2020, we were the first to open up while the world was still shut down. At that moment, what influenced the record year for us was just there was one place for the world to come to. So everything was funneled into Dubai. So that was how 2020 happened. Then 2021 happened because the expo was moved into 21 because of COVID in 2020. Our economy had bounced back, and therefore it was the anticipation of future growth that fueled, and we had our record year. 22 February is when Russia crossed into the neighbor's yard, and that year 18%, 18% was the influence of the Russians, Ukrainians on the Dubai market. So we still had 82% coming from 176 countries.
Understood.
Then, yeah, the war continued in 23, but it had no impact on the Dubai market because no Russian or Ukrainian is going to keep their money in their country for 1.5 years and then decide to move it. They moved it the year of the war. 23, what happened we saw later on was Israel crossed over into their neighbors, Gaza. And everyone felt now with this, with Iran coming into it, Syria on one side, you need Lebanon on one side, this is going to impact Dubai. No, we had another record year, even more. And Gaza is still going on, Russia is still going on, the UK has declared a recession. People are anticipating something to come out of the US, but it did not stop. In the last 3 years alone, 373,000 millionaires have invested 1.5 trillion dirhams in the Dubai market. This year, we have 67,000 millionaires who are saying, with everything that's happening around the world and in that region, let's go to Dubai with family.
You're painting quite a positive picture. But in your mind, if you had to pinpoint a couple of reasons why the Dubai real estate market may suffer or what challenges it may have, what would you say those are?
Okay, one of the things which I feel could be a challenge in Dubai is the pace of growth and the demand that we are seeing. There is an incredible demand. The world is coming to Dubai and there is no stopping them. So when you are, and particularly with a very heavy investments in the off plan. Now the challenge with off plan is that when I'm selling from a paper, an off plan concept, I can launch 4,000 buildings. It's from a paper.
Yep.
But at one point, you have to start the construction. Will we have enough infrastructure in terms of can we generate that much water, electricity, sewage management? Do we have that many construction companies? Can our ports handle all that cement, steel, glass coming in? What about workforces, physical infrastructure, roads, highways, all of that? Because we need all of that so that we would be able to deliver. Will the major plots be prepared with basic infrastructure and handed over by master builders? So I can see that could be one area where we could feel pressure. However, I know Dubai. Dubai has been very, very, very proactive and they do factor a lot of things in. So this could be one area. as a challenge. The second potential area that I see as a challenge is, you see, honey attracts flies.
Yeah.
Now, when you have a market that is booming, when you don't have to sell the market anymore, and the best in the world are relocating here, it is also possible sometimes you can get Mickey Mouse developers, B grade, sometimes even a C grade company coming in here, sniffing at the money pot, but genuinely not having the intent to collaborate and cooperate and help Dubai retain number one position in the next few years. So, government licensing has to become tighter. Monetary controls will have to be there, not just on the monies, even on the type of developers, their legacies, what kind of communities they build. Otherwise, you see, right now the market has a lot of a monkey see, monkey do herd mentality approach. Everybody's buying, let's go and buy. Yeah, but do you understand why those other people are buying? No. But then there is the other buyer sitting, hoping you've done your research. So he's come based on you and you're coming based on him. So many times people will come in without having done their proper due diligence, without studying the global reports, understanding the economic agendas, what is going to drive the performance of this market going forward. So that's when people come in and they might get hurt because they might not necessarily evaluate the right kind of developers, the right kind of brokerage companies or agents to work with, because honey will always attract flies. But for that, the responsibility cannot just sit on the government of Dubai. I cannot help it in India if there is a brokerage company who's got a connection with the brokerage company here. But in India, they're promising you the moon and putting the dollar signs in people's eyeballs, and then they're getting the money here.
Okay, so that's an interesting point because you said millionaires coming out from India, if I understood that right. Now, should I take that to mean that the Dubai real estate market is primarily for high net worth or ultra high net worth investors, or is it also something that retail smaller investors are looking at or should look at?
Look, we retail even smaller investors. We also retail the big ones. We retail the mega high ones and the multi-billionaires of the world. Dubai is welcoming the world. So we have the ultra high net worth individuals, $30 million and above in their accounts. We've got the high net worth individuals, the $5 million to $20 million. And we've got the affordable category coming in as well. The reason I say millionaires, look at the smallest entry point that you're talking about. A smallest entry point would be around 550 to 600 1,000 dirhams, which is in for a studio or something like that. So even with a 550,000 investment, you're talking about. I mean, it has to be a minimum a millionaire who's coming into this. When we say millionaire, we do not mean that no one else can get it. Who buys this kind of property?
And I know, as you said, it's not the Dubai government's responsibility to take care of all malpractice that the practices that there may be, and also definitely not their responsibility to take care of taxation of other countries.
100%.
But are there any hidden costs, whether taxation costs or transaction costs, that people, especially from India, should be aware about when they're looking at sending their money to Dubai to buy property? Because it's a transaction that's going across borders. There's also going to be capital appreciation, rental income, and then the money probably will be repatriated back to India. So people need to know what the different transactions and costs are that are involved in this.
I can share that with you because it is published on the internet. Everybody can see. Dubai doesn't have a preference, or there is no one cost structure for a particular nationality, not even for the local Emiratis. Right. So let's say you're investing in property. There is a 4% registration fee, which is called a stamp duty in most of the world. That 4% is whether you're buying off plan or whether you're doing a secondary or ready home transfer. Is 4% for anyone on the planet. Okay, that is it. Then, depending on whether the home value is half a million or less, there is an additional 2,500 dirhams. If it is above a million, there's a 5,000, which is marginal. Most investors don't even consider that. Now, what happens is if you are working with an agency or a professional broker in the market, there is a commission, but that's not paid by you when you're buying off plan. The developer is the one who pays that as a fee because the brokers have brought investors to them. So the investor doesn't have that. In the ready home market, then yes, you will need to work with an agent because the developer is not involved now. It's a ready home. You pay a 2% on the home value to the broker who finds you the buyer. Now, the buyer pays 6% because you have paid 4% when you bought first. Now you're paying 2% to a broker to help you to sell. So the new buyer has a buyer broker who charges you 2%, and you will pay 4% to register the unit that is now transferred to you. So you're talking broadly, the 6% is what we're talking of. There's no other, there's the admin fee and things like that. You're talking between 1,500 to 2,000 dirhams, which I'm sorry, no investor anywhere on the planet has stayed away from a property in Dubai for 2,000 dirhams.
Yes. Yeah, I don't suspect that to be a consideration, especially when you factor in that there's no capital gains tax.
Yeah.
Dr. Menon, could you talk about two or three things that investors could keep in mind when they're considering buying real estate in Dubai to safeguard themselves against malpractices and false promises?
Okay, I think this should be evaluated in from two perspectives. The first, not just broker, developer as well. All right, it is possible that you could get a broker who may not be that great, but if they take you at least to a good developer, then someone in the developer side could take care of you. So it becomes equally important, because my challenge is if I work with an average broker and he takes me to a Mickey Mouse developer, and between the two of them, they convince you this is the best one. So there's two things you need to look at. Firstly, legacy of the developer. How long have they been in business in Dubai? One. Secondly, what type of communities and properties have they delivered? Third, what has been construction timelines, the delays, the quality, the shifting and deviating from the plans which were part of the initial presentations and then the actual delivery? What kind of facility management services do they offer? Because once you take that home, then the lifestyle in your community should match the money they're taken from you. Also, are they associated with any global brands, any premium local brands? Because that is a testament to quality. So these are some things you got to look at from the developer side. Now, on the broker side, I think what you got to look at is check out if firstly these are licensed brokers registered with the with RERA, Real Estate Regulatory Agency. People will tell you a lot. You can't just trust a website. While it is a good source of information, websites are marketing, right? So I can put information. No website is going to say we are a B grade crappy brokerage company, right? They are going to tell you that they are the best. So it is better if any broker reaches out to you, ask a simple question. I only want to work with licensed, registered professional brokers. Can you share with me a copy of your RERA ID? That will show me if you're a registered broker. Now, that does not mean that this person is really good at what he's doing, but at least you know that that company has, to a certain extent, made sure that their brokers are registered, verified brokers. That's the first thing. The second thing you should be asking them is, I need you to present to me the legacy of your brokerage company. In the last 10 years, on an average, how many people actually bought homes from you?
Thirdly,
Are there any references that you could give to me from within a developer office or maybe from your client list? I'd like to have a word with them to see how well they were looked after during the transaction. And if I'm a broker, well, you ask me at any time, I'll give you 20 references straight up, no problem, no hesitation. So that is very important to do. Fourthly, everything that is told to you by brokers, ask for evidence. Can you tell me which report said that? Can you share a copy of that report with me? Remember, honey attracts flies. Where exactly did you get that information from? If they tell you the Knight Frank Dubai Destination 2024, could you please forward the PDF to me? If they tell you the UBS Global Real Estate Bubble Index, could you please forward that to me? If they tell you, according to Property Monitor, this region has had an 18.94% capital appreciation in the last 12 months, could you please send that to me? Do not take, I'm saying this again, do not take any broker on just face value and what they say. Let them back it up with actual data that you can verify. And if you find that sort of person, please go ahead. I'm sure you're going to have a great experience.
Great points. Thank you so much for spelling that out. I think that's very useful. The fact that brokerages need to be licensed is a big deal because you see a lot of brokers in India who it's largely an unregulated sector, and there's no technical licensing that we have in place that we can rely on for real estate brokerages in India. So I think that's a good differentiator if you're looking at real estate in Dubai. So get familiar with the brokerage system there, what the rules and regulations are over there. Don't just use your learnings and experiences from India while approaching.
In fact, I'll give you a very easy way past all of this. Tell them to reach out to me.
Okay, we can do that.
That's done. That you're taking care of. Okay, jokes aside, please carry on.
Yeah. So another thing as an investor, if I'm looking at putting money there, seems like a great market. It's growing, good leadership. It seems pretty stable. All the indicators seem to be positive. From the picture that you're painting. Then what if something happens to me? I've put money there. I have property in my name. If I'm not there tomorrow, I unfortunately pass away. Every country has their own laws of how they deal with succession of property. In Dubai, given the way that the laws are structured, is there anything specific we should keep in mind about who the property passes to?
Yes, of course. See, we have got both international law as well as the Sharia law. Now, if you are Muslim and if a will has not been created, then of course the Sharia law would apply. In which case, it usually goes first to the wife, then there is the son, and then there's a second son, and then there's a daughter, and then certain percentage goes to the state if there are no proper dependents in the family. So, what we advise most investors is you can make a will, notarize it. We can do it in the IFC at the courts, the financial courts. So when you have a licensed or a notarized will, in that you have mentioned who are the people who would actually be getting the inheritance from you. Then that is what is honored in the courts. And we advise everybody when you're putting so many millions into it, it's like an insurance that you're taking. Don't not make a will because, like you're right, anything can happen. When COVID hit, the world didn't understand it, but we lost millions in the world. So we don't want that situation to happen. And even if you have intended something as an inheritance for your next generation, but if you've not made a will and if something happens to you, then it gets a little bit into murky areas. So I just suggest just make a will. You are safe, your family is safe, next generation wealth has been protected. It's a marginal cost if you have to come into something like this. And it's perfectly legal and will be held in a court of law.
Right, and I think that applies to any country and any investment really. Anytime that you're making an investment, you want to have a will where everything is properly spelled out so that your kids, your grandkids, and whoever's dependent on you isn't running around spending their time on managing affairs that you should have managed yourself. Firstly, and secondly, because I mean, if you pass away without a will, doesn't matter which country you're in, you're at the mercy of the laws of that country. So I think. Just something as simple as getting a detailed will made to make sure that you're passing on your assets to whom you want in the way that you want and the proportion you want to is great advice for any country, whether India or Dubai.
We have professional recognized companies with the government that do this and they're registered with international law. So you're protected wherever you are.
Got it. Got it. Okay. We did also talk about the fact that since Dubai seems to be an attractive destination, not only are people putting money into real estate, but they're also moving there. And a lot of the real estate that's being bought is possibly by people who are spending either all the time or some of the time in Dubai. Keeping that in mind, can you tell us a little bit about living costs in Dubai and how that compares to the top cities around the world?
Okay, till 2 years ago, Dubai was among the top 10 cities in the world for being the most expensive. We have dropped now. We are number 17 on the planet. See, expensive is just a very, how would I say, it's a very broad word. You can categorize it. You can go into Europe and you can go into an airport and you'll pay, 4 euros for a small bottle of water. Okay, sure. But that is expensive for maybe someone who's coming from a country where their salary brackets are not that great. But if you were living in the UK and you were on a better package or you ran a better company, it became a negligible cost to you. So if you cannot just compare cost to cost and say this is more expensive. Yes, but compare earning per capita income as well. If the per capita income is not changing, then yes, you can say this city is more expensive. But if your per capita income moves you into a higher bracket, then it becomes relative. It's a percentage basis that you're doing.
All right. Thank you for sharing your insights, Dr. Menon. That's been extremely useful for our viewers and our listeners. And hopefully, they look at real estate in Dubai with an open mind and also with open eyes.
I would put it more with an informed mind and educated eyes.
That's great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for watching this episode of Temperament. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. But always keep in mind that you should make decisions based on your own personal financial goals and consult a qualified financial advisor who will give you unbiased advice. If you like this sort of content, please hit the subscribe button and share this video with your friends. We'll see you in the next episode.